for invocation.
Heavenly Father, yes, we ask for your guidance and direction as we conduct the affairs of the fire district, Lord. And we ask a blessing on our firefighters, their families, police officers that are out there protecting us, emergency service personnel. We just pray your hand will be on them today. And thank you that we can gather here peacefully in Jesus' name.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to conduct roll call. Directors Day here, Director Miller here, Director Oliver here, Director McAdoo
Here.
and Silva is present. We have some changes that we made earlier today for the agenda. We're moving the executive session move to B2 and then the B4 and the B5. Directors, do you have any changes to the agenda as written before you?
And for me,
Chief, do you have any last minute changes that you'd like to do?
changes are on paper in front of you.
Excellent. All right. So are we on a Zoom? So we are going to open it for some public comment. And I think in the future, just for everybody in the public, we found that moving that to the end was the best thing because then we'd have people weigh in after our discussion. So. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and present. I'll ask again towards the end. All right, consent agenda. Did everybody get a chance to look at the bills?
Yeah.
So I'm entertaining a motion.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I have a motion on the floor by Director Oliver. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I've got a second by Director McAdoo on the floor for discussion. None. I'm going to call for the question. Director McAdoo,
Yes.
Director Oliver,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Day,
Yes.
and Silva is yes. All right. At this time, I'm going to leave our regular session and per ORS 192.660 subsection 2 subsection D as in Delta, we're going into executive session. This is to discuss a potential collective bargaining agreement with the IFF 1159.
Yeah. Turn them on.
Right, this is, we're coming out of executive session and going back into regular session. Let's see, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the collective bargaining agreement between the IAFF 1159 and Estacada Rural Fire District number 69 from November 1st, 2021 to July 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion on the floor by Silva and a second by McAdoo on the floor, open for discussion. I just want to especially thank Director Oliver, all the directors for their involvement, but especially you and the chief for taking time out of your schedule and helping with this whole process.
Yeah. It went very well.
Okay. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and call for the question. Director Day,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Oliver,
Yes.
Director McAdoo,
Yes.
and Director Silva is a yes. All right. So then we got that. Chief, board work session.
Yeah, so I think we need to have a work session so we can start planning for the next fiscal year. We do that at board level. We need to talk about the future growth. Our Marshall Alderman is going to talk about district growth that's going on, but we kind of need to discuss how we're going to approach that as a district. We need to start looking towards a strategic plan. I think we've got quite a few topics there that we need some time to sit down and discuss and start establishing some direction for the district. So I'm looking for a date that's going to work for everybody. I was kind of hoping for December, but that might not be so helpful.
Let's do it on the 25th.
Yeah, right. So I'm kind of thinking maybe January might be better. I don't know what works better, another evening, or if we're Saturday morning is good, or what you guys want to do, but
I'm out of town the middle of January to the middle of February.
So maybe the beginning of January?
I got the whole week, the 3rd through the 8th. I've got nothing scheduled.
That'd work.
That's unusual,
for
but-
me.
I've got nothing
Well,
scheduled.
you weren't planning on making it through COVID, so you cleared your schedule.
No, I got lots before that, lots after, but that
You
particular
Paul.
week.
Compassion is huge in
That's
you,
right.
Paul.
God, I
Well, we
can
have
feel
to
the
laugh.
love.
I know.
I'm completely open. I'll make it a priority.
for the 8th, 15th is Saturday, one of those two, or
I'm leaving the week of the 10th sometime.
we'll go for the 8th.
So
Is it a work day?
it's a
So
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, okay, I can do it.
You're thinking what, 3 hours, 4 hours?
Like in the
What?
morning, maybe we do an 8 or 9 and go till lunch or something like that.
Okay.
Perfect.
It started at 8:30.
Okay.
He
That
needs
way I
his,
can get my morning walk in.
he needs his beauty
I
sleep.
work out. I do that first thing.
Director Miller.
Man, you are tough.
Is that okay, Chief?
It's good for me.
Okay. 8:30 on the 8th
Yes.
of 22.
There we go.
8:30 on the 8th
8:30 on the 8th,
here at the station.
right here. Yeah.
All right, so next is the Fire Marshal, Alderman, and City Planner. Hi, how are you? So you work for the city of Estacada?
Yeah, I'm the entire planning department
Oh.
for the city. So I just work across the street at City Hall.
Okay.
I process, among other things, I process land use applications, so like subdivisions, annexations. I just came from a planning commission hearing where they were recommending approval for annexation.
Nothing works like it
Right
used
now,
to.
they're hearing a different application that our county planner is managing for a subdivision. And so, yeah, I'm probably the go-to person for questions about growth that's been approved but not yet come on board. So hoping to better understand what questions the district has.
So a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with the city manager and her staff, myself and Mike went over there and just casual conversation about the growth that's going on in the district and what's planned and what's coming down the pipe. So Mike was just going to talk a little bit about what we kind of foresee coming. Not really expecting to make any kind of decisions or anything like that tonight. This is more for information of here it is. This is what we're looking at. But I do get a lot of questions about how much and what. He's got a better handle on it than I do.
So one of the things that I do are approve lots of drawings and plans for subdivisions and a lot of different buildings. One of the things that struck me immediately is the amount of growth we're looking at today. That's either in the process of being approved by the city or already has been approved. So if you look at the maps, the one map will show you subdivisions that are approved. And they're the little squares on the top, and you can see how many units are coming in, those already approved subdivisions. If we
Which,
take,
excuse me, Mike,
yes, sir.
this is this map,
Yes, sir.
then you're talking about which
Yeah,
different
see,
colors, it looks
Yeah,
like
every
different
one of
colors.
the colors,
Yeah.
they're color coordinated,
Yeah, and I should note.
You can
that-
look right down here.
Yes.
Got a,
and the squares are color coordinated towards where the process is on them right now.
Yeah, as of May.
As
So
of
these
May.
are, so they're a little bit outdated for that reason.
But it will give you an idea of exactly the impact the fire department is going to see in the next 2 years. I'll give you some ideas of what I think might happen in 5 and in 10 years. So if you take our run volume last year, it's an estimate of 1,300 runs. And you take the population that we have right now of 3,518. If we divide that out, we end up with 0.36 calls per 100 people. So if you look at the zoning, and it's, if you take each one of those units that are, or subdivisions that are already approved or going to be, there's nothing we can do to stop it. We come up with 1,505 homes. And when I say homes, one of those you'll see are 96 unit. They're not going to be high rises, of course, but they're rental units. And if you do the math on the 1,505, the 69 is part of that, because it was 1,436 homes, 69 apartments, comes out to 1,505. The national average per household or per 100 is 2.62 people per household.
2.62.
Is 2.62, the national average.
Okay.
So if you times that, times the 1,500, you come out with 3,943 new residents in our community. Then if you take that number and you times it by 0.36, we end up with a number of about 1,700 and some. That's per year.
Per call, 1,700
That's
calls.
already
Say
more than
1,418.
double the runs that we're on right now. More than double. And the potential in 5 years, I estimated it to be about 5,000 folks. 5,000 people more at 2.62 comes out to 1,800. Another 5 years, you're going to see another 5,000. So in 10 years, you're going to see a population growth of around, I'm estimating 18,000. I don't believe we have the capacity.
So is this, do we get to ask questions and stuff?
You absolutely.
So let me, one question I have is that I'm always told that these new housing developments calls are usually less in there because the population is younger. The structures are new, built to today's code. So your 0.36 per 100 people, does that apply directly with that new
It would
population?
absolutely- It would absolutely. Because
Okay.
it's a national average. So,
Okay,
and Kristen's been helping me with it. Do you have some?
I just have a quick correction. It's 0.36 per person, not per 100.
I'm sorry.
So it's 0.36 calls per person. So for every 3 people, you get 1 call based on our population and our current call volume.
Right, and I think Director Miller, you're making a good point, but remember geographically, right?
yeah,
I mean, we've got a lot elderly, right?
yeah.
People that
Oh,
are set in where our calls are coming
yeah,
in.
no, but
Yeah,
what he's selling us as new development
right,
is not gonna be most likely elderly. It's
Right,
gonna
right.
be the
It's gonna be
younger
younger people,
population.
yeah.
But when you
So-
look at the national average, those are elderly too.
right.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
But you,
So that's,
We're
I
across-
just want some
it's a
clarification.
cross-section of-
Yeah, yeah,
of us.
yeah.
So there's a couple other things, and I'm sure that Taylor will be able to help you.
yeah,
When
it's
you
not-
look at some of the zones those zones or different colors on the second map deal with commercial structures,
Yeah,
other
industrial.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see big box stores out here. Those big box stores can be in an elevation of 65 feet. Those 96 apartment units, it looks like they're gonna break them into 4 different units. Those could be 65 feet. We don't have a ladder that can hit 35 feet. And I'm here to present you what's happening, what's gonna happen, and it's up to you guys to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, part of this is so that we have the information, something that, some think about before our work session. It's coming down the pipe, the statistics of how we figure out call volume, population, things like that. It's our best guess based on some information that we have at this point. Even you can pull from other areas, it'll give you different numbers, more or less, depending on which way you want to go with it.
Taylor, could you go a little bit? I'm not as fluent in the different zones that we have. There's one in there that is a CMU. A CMU is a
Multi-use commercial.
yes.
Yeah.
Those
And that-
buildings can be 65 foot high. That means 5 stories with mercantile on the bottom and 4 stories of apartments on top. They aren't even included in this.
Well, we just need to tell the city nothing over 2 stories.
Chief Overman,
Yes, sir.
could you refresh, we talked about the city passed that ordinance in
Yes.
2000. Did you check it out or
I'm
are
trying
they
to-
still watching that?
I'm trying to. These will catch in the planning stage.
Yes.
These are right now, they are being built on right now, but they're residentials. It's the ones that are starting to build the 2 and more stories. So absolutely. I think that with Taylor's help, we're going to be looking at some things to help us. The city and the city manager were very gracious with us. So I think we're going to have a lot of good working relationships with them to help us.
We used to have in the past, so that's good that that continue. Just to give you a refresher, about 2000, I think, working with the city, I was a fire marshal at the time. The city passed an ordinance that any structure 2 or more stories in height within the city limits has to be sprinkler or more than 16 units on 1 floor. So if they build a big motel, of course motels. have-
Well, that would fall under IBC code, right?
Yeah,
What was it?
Yeah, so,
16 or more.
yeah, so I know anything over 12,000 square feet in the industrial has to be sprinkled.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are minimum codes. Remember that.
That's why we passed this specific ordinance.
Okay,
The city adopted that.
okay.
So my concern, this new place that's being built on Main Street here, that's 2 stories. Did that get caught in the planning? Is that gonna be a sprinkler?
That's the one next to True Value?
Yeah,
Yeah,
How many units is it?
it's 2 more stories than height.
it's
I think it's only
my
6
understanding,
units.
there's 2 apartments upstairs
It
and
doesn't
then
matter.
commercial business downstairs.
So how did the ordinance say?
2 or more stories in height within the city limits, or 16 or more units on 1 floor has to be sprinkled
If it's 2 or more stories high?
in height, yeah. And they missed the very first one after I retired. Yeah,
We'll find out.
anyhow.
So,
Let's stay on top of that because we missed the first, after I retired, up there by the laundromat, they built those big apartment houses behind the laundromat. That got missed and it shouldn't be. The city missed it and the fire district both missed it.
I
So,
didn't get a chance to see those prints. They were already
Is-
passed.
oh, yeah, that was,
No, he's talking about the one by
The
True
one you're
Value.
just building on.
oh, yeah.
So,
I haven't seen that.
so the 2-story houses
But wouldn't the
over
placards
in Cavanilla, they're sprinkled?
No.
No, it's
Residential, it's
I
commercial.
think so.
You're talking,
Commercial, yeah.
you're right. So, okay, so it's out of the.
So here's a good question here. So obviously that building fell under Clackamas Fire's review. would they have even known about the city code?
I
Probably
don't
not.
know, but I
Probably
think
not.
I told them, like I say, the city and the fire district both missed it early on.
So in the past, when I've built, I've always had to deal with the fire marshal here. There was really nothing from the city I had to deal with as far as IBC on any fire prevention or anything. And it was Bob Morrissey at that time that I dealt with. Is Taylor, is the city trying to, do they want to see multi-story?
Yeah, some of the zones, yeah, we have plenty of zones that allow, like Mike said, up to 6 stories, actually, I think 65 feet would be 6 stories.
Wow.
And so if it's zoned that way, that means that that's what the
They can-
council decided, that's the type of, development that they want to allow in those areas. So
We can't stop that.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying so. I was just curious what their preference was and because they're a driver in this also.
Well,
So-
it's up to you, but I don't know if we can actually stop what's happening.
Well, I'm not, no, I
But
don't
think
believe we can.
We can plan on what to do when it gets here.
Well, there's many different facets to this thing. There's the economy. You look, I keep hearing, oh, Safeway's gonna come out, Safeway's gonna come out. Well, someday, yeah, maybe. Safeway's not gonna build a 3-story tall, store. The industrial stuff is not gonna be multi-story. I mean, maybe 2 at most, offices up top and manufacturing down below. It's the wild card of that CMU that you guys just passed here. What was that, 8 months ago, something like that? You redid all that? Yeah. Yeah, which is all down 224 heading toward the industrial
Those are
park there.
minimum standards.
Yeah.
I want you to remember that.
Yeah.
The builders out in the industrial park,
Mhm.
they've been playing games to avoid early warning systems in those buildings. They're setting out by themselves in flat buildings with no warning systems for us.
Really?
What define a warning system?
Monitored
A
alarms.
system that's monitored that sends a alarm to a 24-hour service that then will call dispatch and notify us.
The state of Oregon adopts the International Fire Code, as you're well aware. So if they're not following the fire
They
code,
are, absolutely they are.
well, then that's the code that's been established and
But that's a
adopted.
minimum code, and we need to look at it. That's all I'm saying is, we're not Portland. We don't have the resources. By the time a building like that gets going, there's nobody out there to tell us that it's on fire. So by the time we have to send our young people out there, they're
Right,
already
but-
so
but-
far behind the 8 ball. So,
I think this definitely can go for a work session. The reason why I say is because this is the deal. You have to be also competitive, right?
Oh.
So we got the city of Sandy, we've got all these other places that are booming with some urban. We're like the fastest growing city. We don't want to make ourselves unattractive.
Yeah, we don't want to stifle that growth
Yeah.
by any means, because that is, well, that's the
Well, I'm-
survivability of.
That's why I'm saying that there's no way I can make a decision without all the facts. And And I'm making tons of notes, and the thing of it is I realize that whatever we determine or we want, it's also gonna need partnership with the city, because a lot of this is gonna, if we decide to go down this avenue, it would be a city ordinance to trigger it. I look, and that's pretty much the only avenue for that,
I mean, kind of sidebar, where we're trying to go, it's how do we manage it right now? That's one way, absolutely, Matthew, is code enforcement, changing codes to help us. But the other one is the volume of runs. These runs weren't that I gave you, weren't anything to do with industrial.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing, but I would say we'll discuss it in a work session,
Yes.
because I think that there's a lot of other facts. I'm also work where you came from,
Yes.
and there's other facts. So I just want to make sure that when we talk about it, that we get all the facts and discuss it.
And that's why Taylor's here, and that's why I did the research so that you could see exactly what I'm looking at, we're looking at as a part of our.
Yeah, the questions keep coming up of what is out there, what's coming down the pipe, and that's what this is, and that was the point of this tonight, is to give you these maps so you can take a look at it. Taylor could come over here and answer questions if there are any, as it relates to the city and how their planning works for it.
You have my property in your map. You get a line around it. Yeah, so I'm in the urban growth.
Gee,
That's,
district.
that's the do not resuscitate line.
I think it's labeled
I really
DNR.
appreciate you guys. It's gonna take a work
Oh,
session.
absolutely.
We can see 5 and 10-year planning here, you know. I can see maybe a fire station down here on the north end somewhere, you know, 5 years, 10 years down the line. yeah.
And then we need to start planning for allocating funds for that.
You bet. yeah.
Well, in the partnership with the city goes even deeper. You know, I keep hearing rumors that our sanitation system is not, you know, it's pretty much at capacity, you know. We need to know where the city is planning for that, because that can stifle our growth. I don't want us to spend a whole bunch of money ramping everything up and then find out that the city's sanitation system can't handle it. So the growth is not going to come because of that, or the water treatment system.
From what I read, it's
I hear many different
A year
stories.
or so ago, we were
They're already planning a new one.
Yeah, they're building.
Let's let Taylor give her comment.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really prepared with the whole presentation. I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to make it tonight, so the planning commission goes really long.
Thank you very much.
But I would love to, at minimum, collect questions, and I don't know if we're having a December meeting, or if there's some other avenue that I could provide some, detailed information. We do have some analyses that have been done. We're in the process of a housing needs analysis. Part of that is a buildable lands inventory. In 2019, we did an economic opportunities analysis that also had a buildable lands inventory that looked at the employment lands, so industrial, commercial. And so there's where we have some numbers that show, hey, here's how much land we have that's not yet developed, and here's how the intensity of use. So if it's residential, what amount of population might move into these lands, or what intensity of commercial. So those are some kind of projections that we do have. And then, yeah, if there's whatever questions you have, we have a lot of information, and it would be probably doable within a month to put together kind of packet or a presentation if you wanted me and any other staff to come back over.
When will that housing needs analysis be done?
Yeah, so the analysis part actually is done, although we did just get the PSU population estimates that were updated for this year. So they'll probably. Now we moved into the housing strategy part of that project, which is looking at, okay, we have the numbers on how many housing units and what types we think we're going to need in the next 10 years. What facilitate that the development of the needed housing. So we're looking at probably July, when that will all go to council and be adopted. Hopefully.
When you look at the map that has the numbers, that's already approved. My estimate, that's only about 20%, 25% of what is out there to be annexed, and that could come.
Yeah,
Or will come. It's not a matter of what's going to happen.
those are numbers we can get. I don't know. I'm not sure. 25%. It's hard to say.
I remember when I sat and worked on a bunch of this rezoning for the highway. I thought they estimated that we had like 30 years of within our urban growth boundary to fill it up estimate. And that wasn't very long ago. I mean, it was booming.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's definitely no indication from either that study or the housing needs analysis that we're doing now. There's no indication that we need to expand our urban growth boundary. Basically, the preliminary findings of the HNA are that we might need to rezone or upzone. We might run out of land for like multifamily or like denser types of housing, but that we have plenty of land for low density, like single family homes.
Do you have anything else?
All right, so what I'll do is I'll poll everybody. Obviously, we have a work session in January. Maybe we'll shoot for like a date in February because you'll be back in February. And then I'll just liaison with the chief and we'll put a work session as far as future planning. Sweet. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Chief O'Connor, the finance officer position.
Yeah, so we had some discussion last month about a finance officer, finance duties, and looking around, talking to different people, and how we operate, what we do. Looking to actually hire a part-time finance officer. I think that's going to be the best route for us to take. Since created a job description, which I didn't make copies, but I have it here. It's based on some other fire districts around us. And use the funds that we have for the administrative assistant in the budget to fund it, which we didn't have it all in the first 4 or 5 months of the year, so we would have enough money to do that. Looking at a part-time 25-hour-a-week type of position. Thoughts?
I think that's a great idea.
I do
We
too.
always, right from the beginning, we were talking about the 1.5 position at minimum in your office,
Right.
executive staff. So I think it's totally right in line with what we were planning.
Yep.
And I think it's great having somebody financial that's their sole purpose.
Yeah, and that's what this would be all about, is primarily do the payroll, bills, financial reports, everything and anything finance related, that would be their job. I think that would help us along, especially as we move forward, we look at district growth and jumping into contracts and all that other fun stuff. Being able to project would be extremely helpful at this point, especially looking at the growth that we have out there.
Do you have that description finalized?
Yes.
Could you just
I'll
email it to
email
us?
it to you,
Okay.
yeah.
When do you want to move forward with it?
Let you guys take a look at it. If everybody's good with it, then I would move forward here in December and try to get somebody hired for January.
So why don't, when he emails it to you, could you all give him a consensus of how you feel?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's the reason why I want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get some feedback on that and what's there and if we need to add anything or if
Yeah.
it's too much or something like that. But I think it looks good at the moment, but that's just my eyes looking at it here.
Okay.
But with that, I don't think we need to take any other action tonight.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then committee report, chief, your report.
Yeah. Well, you know, this chief report tonight looks a little bit different. Now that we have our chief officers in place, where you have an operations section, a training section, fire marshal, and then myself. So I'm getting information back from our chief officers every week, and then look at some highlights. Some of the highlights are we did finalize getting an ALS EMS kit on our rescue. So our ALS capable, and Lieutenant Indeed back here had a lot to do with that, putting that together and making that happen. So that was a big step. We obviously have our,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just flashed back to the transition committee. There was something about Clackamas given ALS kits that were actually supposed to be part of. Did that ever get settled?
I don't remember anything.
State gave,
Well, the county
Oh,
gave out
was
kits.
it the county or the state?
The county gave out kits.
the
to
county
every
had,
district.
had the kits, but to say the kits, there was basically the bags that we're carrying. It wasn't actually.
Okay,
equipment
okay,
for
okay,
those.
okay.
And give away a bunch of life pack pens.
Okay.
And one was given here, but we use Zoll now.
Yeah.
So it went with vehicle. It's now Portland wants me to get the paper. Reality. So that's why I know that part.
You've done- Yeah, that's all in place. And, we set up ESOs, our record management system, and Chief Lashbrook back here. Have to make that work. So we are off and running with ESO. We were using emergency reporting before that. This will be a better platform for us. It's also consistent with pointed out here in our volunteer hours for October, and I might have brought this up before, but again, we had 387 volunteer hours for Station 3-2, which equates to 16 days staffed at the George Station. A great number to see.
Yes.
Those were the highlights of that. In the back, you have our run numbers that are in there. Shows you a chart that has incidents by hour per date range. Tells you when our busy times are, which is obviously middle of the day, first thing in the morning, in the evening, of course. That breaks it down by how many, by what hour. 121 calls for the year so far, or for the month so far. We're already past October. But it is trending upward as we expected. That breakdown on the rest of these calls. But more importantly, I wanted to point out C shift today, and this is pretty fresh, so I don't know what the entire outcome is going to be yet, but this afternoon around 4 o'clock, we had a call for a man down here in the parking lot at Ace Hardware for a possible CPR call, which it was. C shift, myself, and Chief Smith showed up. We successfully converted the patient. After we got to the hospital. It was very well run. Did an excellent job. Communication was great. Meds were flying like they're supposed to. Things were happening. We got our Lucas device on him quickly. CPR was effective. Shocked him 6 times with he was in B-fib, and he never quite wanted to convert out of that, but it was looking very promising. His color had returned, and he was trying to breathe on his own again. So it looks like a code save.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. There's not a lot of those, and I think we got one this afternoon. So we'll see how it turns out.
I spoke with the ICU nurse when you guys were in executive session. He couldn't tell me too much, but I said, is he expired or alive? He's like, well, I can tell you he's in the ICU and we don't know the
So do you do double sequential defibrillation? So we do it. Yeah, we do it like now when they get with that time.
No, it hasn't hit Cochrane's count yet.
Okay.
That is my chief's report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Lashbrook, the financial, anything to add?
Not really, except for the tax money starting to roll in as of, we checked a little bit earlier today, the chief and I, and there was a nice little surprise in the LGIP account for us. So,
Tax money is there to the tune of 1.5 million, so it's
Yeah.
starting to come in.
So that gets deposited direct to LGIP.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
so it wasn't here for my report, but we checked
It
earlier.
doesn't actually
today.
post until tomorrow, but
Yeah.
it's there. So.
Excellent. All right, directors, any questions for Lashbrook? Okay, then we will move on. I said that I'd open it again for comment. None. All right, board comments.
I have one question I just wanted to bring up. Chief, what are our plans for replenishing our reserve funds? Because we pulled all of our money out of reserve funds to get us up and going.
Yeah.
With plans to refurbish or replenish that fund sometimes after revenue come in this is tax year. So I just wanted to touch on that, see if there's any plans going that way.
That is entirely up to you guys on how you want that to work, but that's on my agenda for the work session.
Good.
And what we want to do with that.
We discussed a little bit of that the last board meeting.
Yeah.
about reserve accounts and
Yeah.
stuff. So you were probably kind of out of it.
Early January, we should know pretty well what our revenue is. for the year,
Yeah, I
so we
just
can
wanted
do
us to
that.
keep on top of it because that's a commitment the board made with
Mm.
more of these funds.
Yep.
We're gonna replenish them as quick as we could. so.
How much did we deplete? How much was that? Can't remember.
I mean,
240,
250 grand or
it
something?
was like 246 or, no, there was a limit we could go, I think.
Yeah.
It's, we got the paperwork on it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
totally do.
We just have to pull back the paperwork.
Okay. Any additional board comments? None. It looks like community continuing to do standby at the high school football games. Awesome.
We'll keep going up there as long as they keep winning.
Remember, their next game is in McMinnville and they wanted us to go to McMinnville.
I think,
They're still
Send the
in,
McMinnville guys.
That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know, John, what do you think about you and I jumping on one of these rigs and letting the guys go down there?
I'm thinking of going over my own because I got 2 daughters that live over there.
Mm.
So I go over there and I can stay overnight and come back. So,
they're still undefeated, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, the next meeting is gonna occur on December 16th, 7 PM. It'll be a regular meeting. And I don't foresee us needing a special, but we'll make sure it's advertised if we do anything between now and then. Directors, any last minute things? Nope. All right, this meeting's adjourned.